Here I'm trying to make some videos and it's pretty windy. Okay, today's Gripe and Wine is about the Canadian Firearms Act. For those of you who don't know, we do a lot of wacky things in Canada about our firearms. There's a lot of reactionary things, and since 1995 we've had the most reactionary Firearms Act in Canada, which I don't think is proven to lower crime, period, by any of these rules and regulations. We'll start with just the classifications of firearms. The people in charge of this are the RCMP, which when I called them and I said, if there's firearms that fall into the non-restricted semi-automatic category of a non-restricted long gun and are prohibited, you cannot own them. I said, is there any way to overturn that law? Is there anybody who talked to me? They said, absolutely not. Like, it's non-negotiable, is basically. Now, I mean, the lady I talked to was very nice about it. It is what it is. But I'm like, how can that be? You know, like, how can that be? How can I not have a plea of sanity and reason to these people that, you know, that you're banning a gun that, or not just a gun, like hundreds of firearms that are banned just because of name or reputation. Yeah, name and reputation. Nothing to do with functionality or anything like that. Just name and reputation. That's reactionary laws, and I'd like to see that lifted. So that if it, I mean, look at it this way. If you have one type of firearm, and you do something bad with it, okay? How many other millions of people have that firearm that don't do something bad with it? Here in Canada, it's an awful, like you know, you only have to be accurate within the millions to talk about law-abiding gun owners in Canada. You know, accurate within the millions. You only have to be accurate within the hundreds to talk about, you know, the murder rate with firearms in Canada. And you only have to be accurate within 1,000 or two, a few thousand, for firearms-related offenses. Go on to Statistics Canada, you'll get the idea of where firearms are in relation to the crime rate. But it's very statistically low. And when I look at that, I'm like, well, why do we have such a strict gun policies in Canada? And yet, you know, like, none of it can be attributed. I mean, the crime rate's been dropping steadily since 1977, and right now we have the lowest crime rate we've had in 44 years. But gun crime has actually relatively stayed the same since 1977. It's gone down a little bit, but you know, the numbers are, you know, it's always around the same every year. Typically between 500 and 600 people per year get murdered here in Canada, and about anywhere from 140 to 180 on average with firearms. Usually knives are predominant, and then blunt force trauma follows. Again, go on Stats Canada and you can figure out the crime report from there. So the laws we have, such as you know, how we classify our firearms, right there is where, you know, like certain firearms, it doesn't make sense why they're like the FNFAL. It's a full-size rifle. Like, I mean, it's 44 inches long. You know, like it's longer than most hunting rifles. And it's a semi-automatic. This is not something that you're going to put under a coat very easily. You know what I mean? Like it. And again, most of these madmen that go out in public with firearms, they just carry them in. Like, they don't hide them. They just walk in, and they walk into usually a gun-free zone. And they usually don't obey any of the high-capacity magazine, you know, pinned to 5 rounds, that type of thing. They don't obey that. They don't obey the first law, the one that's most important, that you should not kill anybody or, you know, hurt anybody or rob anybody. You know, I mean, you know, so that has nothing to do with the firearm that they're holding or wielding. It has everything to do with personal intent and personal choice. So. And all crime does. But the thing is, of the millions and millions of gun owners here in Canada that, you know, don't do anything bad, we get penalized for that. You know, it's like, okay, well, we need a reactionary law to make it look like we're trying to do something. But it doesn't do anything. For example, magazine capacities, you know, 5 rounds is all we're allowed in our semi-autos, and 10 in bolt, you know, like bolt guns and pump actions and lever actions max. And then rim fire, which is like 22s, have no limit. But let's put it to you this way: whether it's a single shot 22, the smallest caliber pretty much on the planet, or a full out 30 caliber Dillon minigun that shoots 6,000 rounds a minute, it doesn't matter. People firing one shot at you or a gazillion shots at you, you're going to put your head down. But again, that doesn't matter either, because first off, the only people that are going to do something stupid with a firearm are criminals or crazy people. So, because you can't legislate crazy, and they're criminals by definition, that they don't obey the law anyway. Putting more restrictions on people that are already obeying the law. Okay, you're already obeying the law and you're not hurting anybody, you're not disturbing anybody. We're going to put more restrictions on you anyway. It's completely pointless. For example, banning the 32 and the 25 caliber handguns here in Canada, because, oh, well, the crime rate was, you know, people were doing too much crime with those calibers, so if we ban them, the crime rate will go down. But the handgun crime rate is still virtually the same as it's always been. since 1977. So what? People are not smart enough to go down to a 22 or up to a 38. So it's okay. We banned 25 and 32 calibers, so they're not gonna be smart enough though to go down to a 22 or up to a 38. So again, a reactionary law. Doesn't matter. Now let's look at the barrel length restrictions. Does it really matter if you have a snub-nose revolver or a brown bass musket that's 6 feet long? No, it's human intent. And if you think that somebody, okay, well, if they have this handgun and it has a snub nose, they're going to carry it around. Well, legally you can own a handgun with a 4.2 inch barrel. Let's put it in perspective. That overall length might be 8 inches, so about as long as my knife here is 15 inches. So that's like a big bad Smith & Wesson 500 Magnum is about that long. 8 inches is my blade length here, from here to here. Or, well, maybe that's 9 inches. So that's the overall firearm's length, okay? Now, with a snub nose, it might be 6 inches long overall, maybe from here to there, okay? So, can they easily carry that? Yeah, but I can guarantee you, even something this big, well, put it, where is it? You know what I mean? So if someone's going to carry an illegal firearm, the point is the barrel length doesn't matter. It's all about human intent. I stuffed this in a coat here, or in the jacket in the back of my pants, put it in my bag even, it don't matter. It's human intent. So I don't think there's any point in saying, okay, well, you're a law-abiding gun owner with a handgun that's done your RCMP background check and all that, but because we don't trust you to carry, we know you're not going to carry something with a 4.2 inch barrel around. But if it was 4.1 inch barrel, you might carry it around. You're just, the devil's right hand is going to take over. I think give people a little more credit than that, because the statistics, well, or the lack thereof, of the millions and millions of handgun owners and long gun owners and shotgun owners and all that in Canada that don't do anything bad, which is probably about 1/3 of our population. Putting more restrictions on them is really pointless. And other things such as restrictions on pistol grips and stuff like that. For example, you can buy one, like an AR. 15 is a restricted firearm to a prohibited, depending on if it's got a full auto. And an assault, and now you have to understand, media will call anything an assault rifle. They'll call a brown bass musket an assault rifle. And if you don't know the difference, you don't know the difference. I get that, but it's up to you to get some education. Even if you're anti-gun, it's in your best interest to at least know how to handle them safely. Everybody should know how to handle one safely. But getting back to the point, even if I drop the ball a bit here, but that's the whole thing. Like, it doesn't matter, okay, you have something with a pistol grip in on. It doesn't make it easier to fire from the hip, because my wrist doesn't move like that. And if it was that much more accurate, military soldiers and law enforcement would do that. They don't do that. Why? Because you can't hit the broadside of a barn at 10 feet with it. That's why you aim. That's why they have sights on top. So, making it easier. Anybody that says it makes it easier to shoot from the hip has never fired a firearm before, and those people should not be making laws on stuff they simply do not understand. And in fact, that's a big problem here in Canada. We have too many politicians and stuff like that make laws on stuff they don't understand, and firearms is just one of them. Again, you can AR-15 is basically a restricted firearm, regardless of barrel length or anything like that. Even if it fits the non-restricted category, it doesn't matter. It's because it has a pistol grip on it. And it's semi-automatic. It's going to be restricted. But yet you can buy an AR-180B, which is non-restricted, which is virtually the identical rifle, but just a little bit different internally. Again, I'm not even opposed to people owning machine guns, because, again, it comes down to personal intent. Out of my nearly 40 years of existence, I've never seen a firearm get up and walk around and start shooting people. It'd be interesting to see, but it just doesn't happen. The thing is this, is that whether someone is using a single-shot 22, the smallest caliber on the planet, or a Dillon minigun that shoots 8-9 barrels on it, firing 6,000 rounds a minute of 30 caliber ammunition, if somebody shoots at you, you're going to put your head down. So, you can vilify and demonize any firearm in that sense. But then again, it always comes down to human intent. Magazine capacities, even they don't work. Yeah, a guy might be crazy and stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily mean he's stupid. So let's say single-shot rifles were the only thing ever invented. You'd just stand in the doorway. Not to give anybody any ideas, but you got to look at it. Okay, well, how ridiculous is magazine capacities? Has it lowered the crime rate at all? No, it hasn't. Are the people that don't obey the laws, the criminals, are they still using 30 rounders and stuff like that? Yeah, so you've only removed the privilege from, or right, or whatever you want to refer to it as, from the law-abiding people, you haven't done anything. You haven't lowered any risk. Like you haven't lowered the risk or anything like that. So again, it's pointless to put all these restrictions and bans. But my main gripe is the ammunition. What do you call it? The barrel length restrictions. Do away with that, because the firearm type doesn't matter. It's human intent and personal choice that you have to, The other thing, I'm not opposed to taking a safety course, because that pertains to safety. I'm not even that opposed to the RCMP background check with references, for basically see if you're a nut job or not. But then again, what is sane? I mean, the sanity is measured in levels. You know what I mean? Like, some people might think I'm off. I have no idea why. But anyway, and then I might look at other people and say, hey, what a whack job. Hey, I look at a lot of people in nice suits and say, what the hell are they thinking? Are they that crazy? People who like ban like stuff because they think it can fire easily from the hip, even though my wrist just doesn't bend that way, Yeah, it's crazy. We should do an RCMP background check on them. But anyway, I'm not opposed to that. I don't think it accomplishes very much, but I'm not opposed to doing that. But the safety course, I'm okay with that. But after that, leave gun owners alone. I mean, we need to call our MPs, our MLAs and stuff like that. And I'm going to make a whole bunch of videos on that, because you can never cover it all. Most police officers don't even know the entire Firearms Act. It is just too complicated. And then you have provincial laws. Like if you're an unfortunate bugger like me who's in Quebec, not that I don't like being in Quebec, it's a beautiful province, but we have the strictest gun laws here, which most of them are reactionary and make no sense whatsoever. And we need to call our MPs, our MLAs, and create awareness of it. So post this to your Facebook and everything. And if I miss something, add it. I mean, comment on it. Get people talking about it. Get people who are against guns to talk about it, because a lot of this is an educational issue, and training and education is the key. And even if you're anti-gun, it's in your best interest to learn about them, because the more you know, the less you know, the safer you'll be. And you never know. You may come across a firearm someday that you may have to pick up and move. Let's say you're walking through a park and there's a bunch of kids and your cell phone don't work and you find a handgun on the ground. Well, you've never handled a firearm before. So what are you going to do? Just leave it there? No, you're going to have to pick it up and unload it in a safe direction, in a safe manner, using your axe and proofs. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically pertains to safety. But that's the thing. Everybody, pro-gun, anti-gun, you should know how to use one safely. But if you're going to learn how to use one safely, why not just learn more about them? Even if you're anti-gun, it's in your best interest to know. And then usually most people that I talk to that are anti-gun that actually try guns, they become gun neutral. Okay, I don't have a utilitarian purpose for it, but then they start realizing the firearm itself makes no difference. It's human intent and personal choice. So anyway, that's my rant and rave for that one. Okay, a little less wind here. I'm trying to make some videos and it's pretty windy. Okay, today's gripe and whine is about the Canadian Firearms Act. For those of you who don't know, we do a lot of wacky things in Canada about our firearms. There's a lot of reactionary things, and since 1995, we've had the most reactionary Firearms Act in Canada, which I don't think is proven to lower crime, period, by any of these rules and regulations. We'll start with just the classifications of firearms. The people in charge of this are the RCMP, which when I called them and I said, if there's firearms that fall into the non-restricted semi-automatic category of a non-restricted long gun and are prohibited, you cannot own them. I said, is there any way to overturn that law? Is there anybody talking to me? They said, absolutely not. It's non-negotiable, is basically. Now, I mean, the lady I talked to was very nice about it. It is what it is. But I'm like, how can that be? How can that be? How can I not have a plea of sanity and reason to these people that, that you're banning a gun that, or not just a gun, like hundreds of firearms that are banned just because of name or reputation. Name and reputation. Nothing to do with functionality or anything like that. Just name and reputation. That's reactionary laws, and I'd like to see that lifted. So that look at it this way. If you have one type of firearm, and you do something bad with it, okay, how many other millions of people have that firearm that don't do something bad with it? Here in Canada, it's an you only have to be accurate within the millions to talk about law-abiding gun owners in Canada. Accurate within the millions. You only have to be accurate within the hundreds to talk about, the murder rate with firearms in Canada. And you only have to be accurate within 1,000 or a few thousand, for firearms-related offenses.